Then the 37th speaker now in the speech from the throne, the Honourable Member for Edmonton-Meadowlark.
All right, Mr. Tai Chi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and a special thanks to the Honourable Lieutenant Governor for his inspirational speech to begin this second session of the 27th Legislature. I'm honoured and humbled to reply to the speech from the throne. Mr. Speaker, we live in challenging times, so I would like to talk about hope, realistic hope. Anne Lamott said that hope begins in the dark, the stubborn hope that if you just show up and try to do the right thing, the dawn will come. You wait and watch and work, you don't give up. Mr. Speaker, this accurately describes the attitude of the pioneers of this province, people who came from afar for the promise of life and liberty, who were greeted by cold winters and harsh winds, traders, trappers, farmers, and homesteaders who braved the elements, settled with their families, and forged new communities. And roughnecks like Vern Dryhole Hunter of Imperial Oil, who had more failures than successes. He looked down more than 100 empty wells before hitting it big with Leduc No. 1, providing the key to Alberta's petroleum success. But this determination did not vanish with the passing of these pioneers. In fact, it inspired others from around the world to venture to Alberta. Mr. Speaker, I want to share a story about an Albertan family that conquered adversity by working hard and believing in a better tomorrow. The story begins with a young farm girl and her family fleeing as the fabric of her country is torn apart by civil strife. After becoming refugees in their own homeland, her family settles in a remote village and starts a new life. She then married, and after the birth of her third son, her husband left for Canada to make a better life for his young family. During his 7-year absence, she not only raised, educated, and nurtured her children, but she also attended college to further her own education and pursue her dreams. She dreamed of reuniting her family here, on Canadian soil, where she yearned for better opportunities so that her children could carry the baton of her dreams in order to fulfill theirs. No sooner had they arrived that they encountered a shocking reality. The Canadian winter was extremely cold. They had to buy new clothes, learn a new language, incorporate themselves into a new community, and welcome a new son. Her husband worked what seemed like endless hours in the mill, while she and her children spent their summers working long hours in farmers' fields. When all the children were school age, she sewed clothes in a factory and cleaned hotel rooms in order to make ends meet. Mr. Speaker, times were tough, but this young family remained hopeful, holding on to the promise that if you work hard and believe in yourself, anything is possible. Then came the 80s. House prices had fallen. Interest rates were alarmingly high. Jobs were scarce, and if you were lucky enough to have one, the pay was scarcely enough to sustain a family. So, after her children graduated from high school, they headed to Alberta in the hope of opportunity. They carried with them lessons learned from their parents, a humble and stubborn perseverance to work hard and never give up. Eventually, through education, the eldest son became an electrician for the railway, the second a computer technician, and the youngest of the four an engineer. She was relieved to see her children finally settled. After years of back-breaking hard work, her devoted husband and father to her children fell ill. And as he clung to life, she and her children clung to hope. The boys took the lead by loading up the moving trucks and moving the parents to Alberta, where I'm proud to say their father received world-class medical care. 10 years later, he survives to watch his 8 grandchildren grow, aspire, and dream, a vision he had missed in the formative years of his own children's lives. Mr. Speaker, this family's journey of obstacles is not uncommon. Rather, it's a story of many Albertan families. In the words of Samuel Smiles, hope is the companion of power and the mother of success, for whoso hopes strongly has within him the gift of miracles. Now, once more, Mr. Speaker, the world is facing uncertain times. Today, mankind first with terrorism, wars, a global banking, trade, and economic crisis that some fear will lead to global recession, maybe even a depression. Hopes, dreams, and lives have changed around the world. The naysayers often play on the people's fears by embracing extremist views. These actions serve only to shackle our spirit to despair and cause division. Mr. Speaker, I plead for a more hopeful approach. Sometimes our world is not a just and fair place. It is our collective responsibility to make it so. To help where we can and to comfort where we cannot. Indeed, the truest test of a people's character is not how they fare during the good times, rather how they react during the tough times. Mr. Speaker, The kind of discourse and planning Alberta revealed in the speech from the throne strikes a fine balance between optimism and pragmatism. Indeed, here in Alberta, we have many areas on which to pin our hope. Alberta's debt-free status is unrivaled by any jurisdiction in North America. Despite job losses, we have the highest employment rates, the lowest personal and corporate income taxes, and the highest savings in Canada, with which Alberta is on track to implement one of the largest infrastructure projects in the land. Alberta's envious position is due in large part to the vastness and diversity of Alberta's resources, the revenue from which we are able to continue to invest in teachers for our schools, staff for our hospitals, roads and bridges for our municipalities. Its productive farms and plentiful fields nourish not only its own people, but also many around the globe. Its parks, lakes, and rugged mountains capture the imagination and stimulate recreation and tourism, while its energy and industry sustain a nation. Now more than ever, Mr. Speaker, Albertans need to continue on the path to produce in an efficient and conscientious manner, while at the same time promoting responsible environmental stewardship. On the issue of environment, are we doing better? Yes, we are. Can we improve? Yes, we can. Now, Mr. Speaker, Alberta's most valuable asset is neither its beauty nor its abundant resources. Rather, its people. People like the pioneers who ventured here, like that young family who came in hopes of realizing their dreams. Industrious and motivated people from a variety of backgrounds, all who call Alberta home. Mr. Speaker, the wealth of Albertans depends on the health of Albertans. We've all heard of the wait times to see a family doctor, for long-term care, for elective surgery and emergency care. Personally, I'm encouraged by the hiring of our new CEO of the Health Services Board. He brings with him a wealth of international experience that will engage the frontline staff, will define what healthcare actually costs, and improve the efficiency of our acute care system. We are on par to educate more family doctors, nurses, and other frontline staff than we had yesterday, and with the help of technology, they will be able to deliver and improve the quality of care for Albertans. However, the real solution to improving access to quality care lies in engaging Albertans in a conversation to live happier and healthier lives by not getting sick or injured in the first place. Mr. Speaker, in the past, simple measures such as access to clean water and vaccinations were seen as the greatest advances in preventative care. There is no doubt that we should be personally responsible for our health. However, we need to translate evidence-based knowledge into policy and action on the street to reduce injury and chronic disease by addressing other factors beyond healthcare services, which have an even greater influence on health, such as lifestyles that lead to stress, inactivity, and overeating, excessive use of tobacco, alcohol, and drugs, which all ultimately lead to poor mental and physical health. Today, the World Health Organization estimates that 80 to 90% of all cases of type 2 diabetes could have been prevented through minor lifestyle changes. Today in Alberta, we have 150,000 diabetics, and we get 10,000 diabetics every year. We also need to find ways not only to reduce the need to take expensive drugs, but also to improve patient compliance when these drugs are prescribed. With the restructuring of the public health and the expanded role of the Chief Medical Officer of Health, Alberta is on the right track. We will not see results overnight, but in the years to come, our children and seniors will live healthier lives, and our healthcare system will be sustainable. Mr. Speaker, much of this commitment begins with educating Alberta's adults and children. We have an opportunity to leverage the strength of our education system to create and attract the best and brightest minds, to harness their abilities, and to allow them to lead us into the future. I am reassured with the commitment of this government to advance education every time I see the multitude of cranes lining the skyline as I drive past the University of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to talk about responsibility. In order to sustain our core programs, now more than ever, we need to think prudently about our spending so that Albertans get the best services for their tax dollar.